My millionaire dad told me to choose art or family money. I picked art, and he cut me off completely. What happened next proved that sometimes the people who abandon you become your greatest supporters, but only after you prove you don't need them. I'm Jackson Crawford, 32 years old, and this is the story of how losing everything from my father led me to build something worth far more than any inheritance could have given me. My father, Richard Crawford, was the CEO of Crawford Industries, a commercial real estate development company that managed a $3.8 billion portfolio across North America. My childhood was defined by his success: private schools, country club memberships, summer homes in the Hamptons. My parents divorced when I was 12, and Dad's wealth actually increased after the split. He threw himself into work with even more intensity. I was supposed to follow the Crawford trajectory: Ivy League education, business degree, then a position in the family company. That was the plan Dad had outlined for me since I was old enough to understand the concept of legacy. But at age 16, I discovered art. Not as a hobby or side interest, as a calling that felt more real than anything else in my life. I took a painting class at school almost by accident, filling a requirement I'd been putting off. The first time I mixed colors and transferred them to canvas, something shifted inside me. I felt a presence, a purpose, a reason to exist that I'd never felt before. By senior year of high school, I was painting constantly. I'd converted my bedroom into a studio, spending every free moment creating. My father noticed immediately and was not pleased. "This painting thing is fine as a hobby," he told me during one of our infrequent dinners together. "But it's not a career, Jackson. It's not sustainable. You need to focus on real education." What if I don't want a real education? What if I want to pursue art? You want to be poor and struggling? That's not the Crawford family way. You have advantages, opportunities. Throwing them away for paint and canvas is ungrateful and foolish. I got into Yale, Northwestern, and Columbia for college. I chose the School of the Art Institute of Chicago because it offered the best fine arts program, even though it meant disappointing my father in ways I was beginning to understand were inevitable. Dad didn't attend my graduation from the Art Institute. He sent a check for $25,000 and a letter saying he hoped I'd come to my senses eventually. After graduation, I moved to Brooklyn, the way struggling artists do. I worked a series of part-time jobs: bartending, serving, freelance graphic design. I painted at night and weekends, submitting work to galleries that rejected me with polite form letters or no response at all. My father maintained contact, but it was strained. He'd ask about my plans to get into business, mention job openings at Crawford Industries, and occasionally send checks that felt more like bribes than support, as if money could tempt me away from my passion. "You're wasting your education," he'd say. "You could be making six figures in business. Instead you're making nothing as an artist." He wasn't wrong about the money part. I was making almost nothing. But I was happy in a way I'd never been before. In 2018, at age 26, I finally got my first real gallery show. It was a small gallery in the Lower East Side, featuring 3 emerging artists. My 6 paintings were displayed, priced between $2,000 and $4,000 each. I invited my father to the opening. He showed up, looked at the paintings for maybe 5 minutes, and took me to dinner at an expensive restaurant. Over appetizers, he delivered his ultimatum. "This has to stop, Jackson. You're nearly 30. You need to get serious about your future. I'm offering you one more chance. Come work for Crawford Industries. Start in a management track, build a real career, make real money. Or I'm done supporting you." "You haven't really been supporting me, Dad. I pay my own way. I covered your medical insurance until you were 26. I've given you checks when you were desperate. I've offered you opportunities. And you've thrown it all away for this fantasy." "It's not a fantasy. I'm building a career as an artist." "No, you're building a history of failure. Jackson, I've worked hard my entire life to build something meaningful. I wanted to pass that on to you. But you've rejected everything I've built, everything I stand for. So here's the final choice. Take the job at Crawford Industries and stop this art nonsense, or I'm cutting you off completely. No more checks, no more help, no more family." "Dad." "I'm serious, Jackson. Choose. Right now." I sat there looking at my father, this man I'd spent my entire life trying to please by being disappointing. I thought about the paintings I'd created, the feeling in my chest when I was working, the sense that I was finally being honest with myself about who I was. "I choose art," I said quietly. His expression hardened. "Then we're done. I hope it was worth it." He got up, left cash on the table for dinner, and walked out. I didn't hear from him for 3 years. The first year after being cut off was brutal. Without the occasional family checks, I was living paycheck to paycheck. I worked 2 jobs, mornings at a coffee shop in Brooklyn, evenings at a restaurant in Manhattan. I painted on stolen hours, exhausted and frustrated. The gallery that had shown my work didn't pick me up for another show. I submitted to 20 galleries in a year and got rejected by all of them. I told myself this was normal, that all artists struggled, that the suffering was part of the process. But internally, I was devastated. My father's words echoed constantly, "A history of failure, this fantasy." I'd given up everything, my family, potential wealth, stability, and gotten nothing in return except exhaustion and rejection. In 2019, I hit absolute rock bottom. My apartment had a mold problem. My car broke down and I couldn't afford to fix it. I was eating rice and beans, unable to pay for studio space, painting on my apartment walls and apologizing to my landlord. One Saturday, the coffee shop manager asked if I'd be willing to paint a mural on their back wall. It was a small project. They'd give me $300 and free coffee while I worked. I was desperate enough to accept. I spent 2 weeks painting a large abstract piece that incorporated the shop's aesthetic: warm colors, organic shapes, flowing lines. When it was finished, customers loved it. People started coming just to see the mural. The shop became Instagram famous, and I was tagged in hundreds of posts. That mural changed everything. A restaurant owner in Manhattan contacted me about painting their dining room. Then a boutique hotel wanted a large installation. Then an investment banker wanted 3 paintings for his penthouse. Suddenly, I had more commissions than I could handle. By 2020, I'd moved into a real studio space in Long Island City. I hired an assistant. I was making $120,000 a year from commissions and gallery sales. I was not getting rich, but I was building a sustainable career. The work kept growing. I was featured in design magazines. High-end interior designers started requesting me for projects. Collectors began following my work. By 2022, I was selling paintings for $8,000 to $15,000 each. I was represented by a legitimate Manhattan gallery that had previously rejected me when I was struggling. 3 years into my success, in 2022, Crawford Industries decided to build a new corporate headquarters in Manhattan. Richard Crawford, still CEO, wanted the building to make a statement about innovation and creative thinking. His VP of Real Estate Development contacted my gallery about commissioning a major art installation for the building's lobby. My gallery director called me with the news. "Jackson, you're not going to believe this. Crawford Industries, the major commercial real estate company, wants you to create a significant art installation for their new headquarters. It's a $250,000 commission, plus royalties on any reproduction rights." My stomach dropped. Crawford Industries is owned by Richard Crawford. Is that a problem? Richard Crawford is my father. There was a long pause. Oh, did you want to turn it down? I should have. I could have. But I also wanted to show him what I'd built, prove that I hadn't failed, demonstrate that his prediction of my failure had been wrong. "I'll do it," I said. I spent 3 months developing the concept, a massive installation that would span the lobby's full height, incorporating video projection, actual painted canvas, and interactive elements. The theme was emergence, growth, evolution, transformation. Everything I'd experienced in becoming an artist. The installation was technically my response to my father's abandonment. But I didn't frame it that way. I framed it as art, which meant I didn't have to explain my pain or seek validation through the work. The day of the installation was also the day of Crawford Industries' new building opening. My father would be there, greeting clients and celebrating the company's next chapter. I arrived early to oversee the final setup. The installation took up the full 4-story atrium, with video projectors creating a light show that transformed throughout the day. It was honestly the best work I'd ever created. I was proud of it independently of anyone else's opinion. My father walked in just as we were finishing the final test run. He didn't recognize me at first. It had been 4 years since we'd seen each other. I was thinner, more confident, but also older in the way that success and struggle age you. When recognition dawned, he stopped walking. "Jackson." "Hi, Dad." He looked at the installation, then back at me. "You created this?" "Yeah." He walked through the atrium slowly, observing the piece from every angle. The video projections created the illusion of growth and movement. The painted elements incorporated his company's logo in abstract form, visible if you looked carefully, but not dominating the space. "It's incredible," he said finally. "How much did you charge?" $250,000. With royalties. Jackson. He trailed off, struggling with words. I don't know what to say. You could say you were wrong about me. About art. About everything. He looked at me directly, and I saw tears in his eyes. I was wrong. We went to lunch, an expensive place near his office. He wanted to know everything, how I'd struggled, how the breakthrough came, how I'd built the career. I told him about the coffee shop mural, the restaurant commissions, the years of rejection before success arrived. "I cut you off," he said at one point. "The worst thing I could have done to someone trying to build something. You didn't believe in me. I was protecting you. Or I told myself I was. Really, I was protecting myself from the disappointment of watching someone waste their potential. But I created the very thing I feared by abandoning you. I don't know if I would have succeeded if you'd kept supporting me," I said honestly. "Maybe I needed to prove something. Maybe I needed to know I could make it without help. Or maybe you could have succeeded faster with support. Maybe." He asked about pricing, about the gallery representation, about where I saw my career going. He asked like he was genuinely interested, not like he was looking for proof that I'd failed. "I've seen your work online," he admitted. "The coffee shop mural got millions of views. I knew it was you, the style, the signature. I was so proud, but also, I didn't know how to reach out. Too much time had passed. You could have just called." "I know. I was a coward." We didn't reconcile in the dramatic way family movies suggest. There was no big emotional scene where everything was forgiven and forgotten. But we started talking regularly. He started buying my work for Crawford Industries' other properties. He introduced me to wealthy clients who became collectors. My father became one of my most consistent commissioners. He'd buy paintings for investment, but also because he genuinely loved the work. He had 12 of my pieces across his properties and his personal residences. He never officially said, "I'm sorry for cutting you off," but it was implied in every conversation, every commission, every time he bragged to his colleagues about his artist son. In 2025, Richard Crawford retired as CEO of Crawford Industries. At his retirement dinner, he gave a speech about legacy and second chances and how he'd learned from his son what it meant to choose meaning over money. "Jackson had to teach me that some things are worth more than financial success," Richard said, looking directly at me. "I spent my entire life building businesses, thinking that was the measure of success. But watching Jackson build an art career from nothing, creating beauty and meaning despite rejection and poverty, I realized I'd been building the wrong things." The room applauded. I was embarrassed and moved and still angry at him, all at the same time. After dinner, we sat together in a quiet corner of the ballroom. "I want to set up a foundation," Richard said. "The Crawford Family Art Foundation. Fund emerging artists, provide scholarships, support art education. Will you help me direct it?" "You want me involved in a business project?" He smiled sadly. "I'm asking my son to help me invest in the thing that matters most to him. That's not a business project, that's a life project." We established the foundation in 2025, with an initial endowment of $5 million. Richard served as chair, and I serve as creative director. We've funded scholarships for 50 art students and provided grants to 70 emerging artists. It's ironic. My father cut me off for choosing art over business, and now we work together combining both. But there's a difference. We're combining them on my terms, in service to the art, not in service to profit. My career has continued to grow. I'm represented by galleries in New York, Los Angeles, and London. My installations are featured in major museums. I've been profiled in Artforum and contemporary art magazines. I make excellent money, more than my father was earning at my age. But the money isn't the point. The point is that I chose myself, even when my father rejected me for that choice. I bet everything on my passion, and it paid off. But it paid off because I was willing to lose everything. The coffee shop mural that started everything is still there. The restaurant has become a pilgrimage site for art enthusiasts. People send me photos of themselves in front of it, and I always respond with gratitude. Sometimes people ask if I regret the years I spent struggling, working 2 jobs, eating rice and beans, painting in a moldy apartment. The honest answer is, sometimes. Those years were hard, and they didn't have to be. If my father had supported me, I could have gotten a studio sooner, focused on art more completely, built my career faster. But I also developed a work ethic in those years that I probably wouldn't have developed otherwise. I learned that my art had to be good enough to survive rejection. I learned that I could survive without family money. I learned that meaning matters more than comfort. My father learned something too, that success isn't just about building companies or accumulating wealth. It's about supporting the people you love in becoming who they're meant to be, even when their choices terrify you. We're not perfect now. He still makes comments sometimes about how nice it would be if I'd gone into business, but they're playful now, not hostile. I still feel residual anger about being cut off, about being told I was a failure when I was actually just beginning. But we've built something real, a relationship based on honesty, mutual respect, and genuine interest in each other's work. The art installation in Crawford Industries headquarters remains my proudest work. Every time I walk through that atrium, I remember standing in front of my father as he looked at it for the first time. I remember him saying, "It's incredible," and meaning it. That moment, when the person who doubted me most finally saw my value, was worth every year of struggle. Thanks for following this journey from rejection to redemption. Sometimes the people who hurt us most teach us the most important lessons, and sometimes they also learn those lessons from us. Until we meet again, folks. If you made it to the end, drop a comment. I love reading all your thoughts.